Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast do not reflect the views or opinions of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Make sure you like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please rate this podcast 5 stars where applicable and leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Memorial Day Eve. Is that a thing? Episode 25. We've got our normal lineup tonight, with the exception of Mike. He's home now, but the honey-do list was kind of long for him today. So, how was your week this week, James?
Well, first of all, I'd like to take a moment to remember every fallen fighter of our country as we do this Memorial Day. So I want to remember everyone that did not come home. And now this week, it was pretty easy. I mean, dealing with disputes and getting management to listen about disputes was a lot of fun. My manager wants every route to do a dispute over their 4241s, not lump them all together like the instructions say. So that's what we're doing. Everybody's got to sit down with her and do the dispute forms together. So that's what we're going to do because they're due Wednesday. So I'm going to do mine Tuesday with the manager. Even though my route didn't change, I'm still going to do a dispute form because I should be probably making more hours than I am. How about you guys?
Yeah, mine's the same. Josh, how was your week?
My week was pretty good. Again, like James said, just trying to honor and remember those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for the freedoms that we have. I am not disputing, because even though I'm sure there are some things, I'm already at 48K and I went up a little bit. I don't necessarily want to give them more that they can cut off my route later. However, in October, I will be going through everything with a fine-tooth comb.
Bill, how was your week, dear?
Oh, it's just fine and dandy, peachy keen. I mean, I love the place. I mean, really, free entertainment. They pay you to be there. You know, they give you a personal vehicle, customized vehicle. I mean, you know, the greatest management in the world, great coworkers. Everybody's cooperative. And then I wake up and go to work. Oh God! I mean, you know, we're short of supervisors, we're short of clerks, we're short of carriers. Well, we have enough carriers, but they don't show up all the time. You know, some people get frustrated with management. I just laugh and file a grievance. You know, here you go. Here's another one. What's this for? Working off the clock. You know, what's this for? Waiting time. What? What were you waiting for? We were waiting for the DPS to be put up. Well, your subs can do it, but nobody told them to, you know? So, you know, it's not up to us to direct the other carriers in their duties. It's up to management. And you know, I sit there and I'd laugh, and the supervisor sits there and says, well, who worked off the clock? And I mentioned the carrier, and they said, well, no, they weren't doing that. They were working, you know, they were talking to me. And I said, when you're handing out the flats, they were at the case, mail in the slots, lights on, armful of flats, and everybody else walked in at 8:28. I don't know what to tell you. You know, somebody's stupid. So, like I said, I mean, you know, I just smile, file a grievance, you know, go on my merry way. Don't get stressed. Cause it, baby. Cause
it. There you go. There's your slogan.
Yeah, that's one of them.
My week was okay for the most part. We just with that mercury spill that happened down in one of the plants, so everything that we didn't get the week before, we definitely got this week. And yeah, it was one of those days where we go on the route Friday. Borrowed RCA had been running it for all week, and I get to the route on Friday, and I was a little miffed because we had Advos came in on Thursday, and those routes got box holders on Wednesday, Advos on Thursday, and another box holder on Friday, which for us is quite a bit in 1 week. And he only did half of the one box holder on Wednesday. So Advos come in on Thursday. So he finished off the other box holder and only did half of the Advos on Thursday. So I walk in Friday morning to half Advos and another whole box holder.
Ooh.
And I
I
let
don't
the
know.
supervisor know. I said, the OIC, excuse me. I said, this is bullshit. That was my exact words. This is bullshit.
Yeah, it was a lot of box
Well,
holders this week.
he's like, well, he had a box holder and a half yesterday. I said, no. I said he had a box holder on Wednesday, Advos yesterday, and now I have another box holder today that I'm taking out with half the Advos. So yeah, I was not a happy camper. And then of course, being Memorial Day weekend and garage sale city, I'm having to fight the garage sales while I'm out delivering, and then come home and sit at my own. Yep.
I
But
didn't have that problem yesterday.
you didn't work, did you?
Never mind.
But the positive or negative about Advos this past week, ours had on the cover of it, look out for our new schedule every 2 weeks, which is a plus that I won't have to deal with them every week anymore. However, now I've just lost half of my WSS flats for the year.
Well, only one of two, or two per month. You still get the rest of them, though.
Right.
So
It's just hit or miss anymore if you get them.
And from now on,
Yeah.
they'll all be box holders. They won't be addressed.
Well, get
Right.
out to your customers, get them to start doing EDDMs every month to make up for it. Do the rural reach.
Yeah,
Management would
okay.
really love that.
So would your coworkers.
They would love you for that one.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I was going to say something. And
But I'll hand it to one of my regulars in my office Friday, just because I did get slammed, and I did have plans to go down to a concert on Friday, a ticket I had bought in January, and needless to say, with my car getting totaled and everything else, that I ended up skipping the concert Friday. But one of my regulars on the smallest on our H route, she took my aux route for me Friday, even though she had 2 box holders on her route. She volunteered and took the aux route for me so I could clean up the mess from the borrowed. That was nice of her.
see, now we're at the point in my office where we used to help, and even though it hurts the subs a little bit, we don't help anymore.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it, because because then they start expecting you to do it.
right. Yeah,
I mean, I would have taken the aux route if I absolutely had to. It wasn't a big deal. It was nice that she volunteered, because initially what it was one of the other newer RCAs was scheduled to run it, but his regular wanted the day off, so that bumped him off the aux route, and I initially had plans, so I was going to try and keep to that schedule, but it all worked out.
Well, that's like the girl on the route next to me has been out for a little over a month now, and she's not supposed to be back until almost the end of June because she broke her foot. And so they have been having one sub carry her route most days recently. But before that, the work wife, Star, she's been taking it, like some of it, helping get it up and some of it. And the other day, the 204B came over to her and asked her about helping. She says, I got to get out of here. I got things I have to do right after, as soon as I get done work. And 204B is like, but I have like 5 routes down on the other zone. I got to I don't know how to get this out. It's like, well, that sounds like a you problem, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. That's a management issue at that point.
Yep.
So, guys, what hot topics are we looking at chatting about tonight?
Well, this afternoon we posted in the group what would we like to talk about, and there are screenshots in the chat of different things. Let's see. First one was, I'd like to hear more about Bill's arguments with management, LOL. We already got some of that. Question answers you got from Mid-States Conference. Sorry if posted this information already. Maybe I missed it.
I'm going to apologize now to everybody that I had yet to dictate my notes, given the issues that I've been dealing with the last couple weeks, like my car being totaled out a week after I got back from Mid-States and my work schedule. I do apologize. I will get to those as soon as I can, hopefully sooner than later. Here's another good one. How mileage is lost on our routes, how daily distance was lost. I think, and then simple things we've had and done for years, had 4 years, and now they figure a different way to do things at our loss. Okay. The mileage loss on the routes comes down to the GPS on the scanners doing the LTM. You can fight that. You can file a dispute on that, and they can do a route remeasurement and correct that for you. Just saying.
The other part of that is also if you are taking a shortcut on your route, like for instance, on my route says that I go to the end of the road and do a U-turn. A shortcut would be to pull in a driveway and back out and go the other way. If you're not doing that drive to the end of the road and do a U-turn, eventually the GPS will cut that off of your route.
Yep.
Just like if you have streets that you normally go down, if you no longer go down them, eventually they're going to cut those off your route from the GPS breadcrumbs from the scanner. So make sure you're driving your entire route every single day, the way you're supposed to drive it, the way it was on your 4003. Because even though the 4003 supposedly doesn't matter anymore, you still want to drive it like your 4003, because that's how your mileage is going to get calculated by the GPS.
And to the best of my knowledge to date, the distance between the mailbox and your actual delivery point is still line of sight. It's not the actual road. So if you have some elongated driveways, like I have several, you're only getting that distance as the crow flies, not the actual distance.
Exactly.
So if you're at a house on my route and you're behind the pond and I have to go half a mile around the pond to get to your garage, that distance doesn't get calculated. Just the 300 feet from the mailbox to the garage.
Yep.
All right, here's one
straight point.
One of your favorites, Bill. I'm curious what, and then in quotation marks, settled for language means. And a couple of people liked it and replied, me too.
All right, can you say that in English? Because you're roboting on
Yep.
my system a lot.
All right. Settled for language. They're curious what that means.
Well, it depends on how much you curse.
When you
Settle for language. Oh, one of my favorites. That's when you can't settle your grievance at the local level, and it goes up to a steps 2, and either an ADR or a DR is settling it for you, and they settle for language. So, case in point, when somebody's discussing something, well, let's say hypothetically, the workday relief list is not up in a timely fashion, and they fail to do that, and then they start scheduling people based on who they like or don't like and all that. Well, since you have no active workday relief list, then they can't turn around and schedule people unless they ask them by seniority. And if they don't get the people, then they turn around and they force them by juniority. So when a grievance comes back and 8 carriers have been offended in regards to wages, and the step 2 comes back, settle for language that will cooperate with management and make sure they put it up on time, you might blow a gasket, because it's not your responsibility to make sure they do their job. It's their responsibility. So when I see those words, settled for language, oh Lord, oh, the Crown Royal flows that night, I'll tell you.
Here's another good one.
That's a hypothetical, situation.
Mhm.
Right. Basically, settled for language means that whoever is sitting on it, they and management agree that management will follow the contract. That's your
Basically.
whole that's the remedy. That's what you got. There's no cease and desist. We won't do it. You will stop doing it and won't do it again. There's no compensation for the affected carriers. It's just
that's
management will follow the contract in this regard.
Settle for management means nobody's getting paid. That's what it means.
Yep.
Yeah, settle.
How can we change the union leaders? Because the times that we have been given for each duty is unacceptable, and union seems to not care. We've talked about on this subject quite a few times on how to vote for delegates to national that vote to elect the leaders that sit at the table.
Everybody should have gotten their ballots. If you're a dues-paying member, you've probably gotten a ballot in the mail now to vote for your national delegates. That is how you change the leaders if you want to change them. You can also choose to have the same leaders if you like the leaders that are in there. And that's whether it doesn't matter to us, either side of it. We have our own opinions on the leaders of the union. Everybody else has their opinions of the leaders of the union. That's up to them, but you have to vote on your national delegate ballot for the people who are running for that support your personal ideas and the people you want to see in those positions. Otherwise, you're just going to have the same old if you don't vote. The biggest thing any dues-paying member can do is vote.
And the second biggest thing you can do is file a resolution.
Yes.
That can change things for everybody.
And if every district, like in Pennsylvania, we have 44, 46 of them, everybody submits a resolution for one man, one person, one vote for the national board, there we go. We're going to get enough pressure for it to be considered at the state level that then gets pushed up to the national level. If they do it in Maine, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Nevada, same thing. They're going to see that, these people are not happy with the representatives they're sending to the national convention and voting their interests and not yours.
Step up and run to be a delegate.
Mm-hmm.
There's that too. Step
Get
up and run
involved.
for get involved, and
Yeah.
if you are involved, you can step up and run for national board. National Constitution just says that you have to be a dues-paying member in good standing for the last 3 consecutive years in order to run for national board, and it doesn't say you have to start at one position and work your way up. It just says to run for national board. A couple of us have done that in the past.
Yeah, baby.
Yep. I mean, it's that whole, you have to vote. I mean, when only 20%, and we've mentioned this many, many, many times, when 20% of the members vote, you're not going to get much of a change if it's the same 20% voting for the same people that vote for the same people. So that's how you do that.
Can someone who isn't a delegate run for national board at the national convention?
Yes. You can be registered as a guest, as a non-delegate, and run for national board. You do not have to be a delegate. I'm going to speak from experience. I was an alternate delegate last year. I had no voting capabilities, and I ran for national board. Yes. Just as a dues-paying member in good standing for 3 years. So you can register as a non-delegate attendee and run for national board.
Another question we got. Take the topic of denied annual leave for the reason no subs available through the grievance process. Now, as it stands, we legally are not allowed to discuss grievances that have occurred, but we can give examples. So if you're denied because no subs available, if you have subs in your office and they aren't scheduled yet on that day, or however it works, what do you guys think? Bill, you're the big grievance guy.
Well, in our office, it's not unusual for us to have a vacant route scheduled with the anticipation of the sub splitting it up. So if you're only going for a day or two, that's not a big deal in my office. Okay. We have the coverage, and actually we have 2 new subs starting this week. So yeah, I mean, the management can schedule an open route. So if you need the time off, I would present that to them. I believe that's in the order of consideration. Not that I could professionally speak on that on my own, but if I were to look there, I might find it.
Yeah. Definitely take a look at the order of consideration. You can find it on the NRLCA website under the Steward Reference Guide under the letter O. And I know there are many other places that have it listed as well.
And
yeah, definitely
and it's not just subs in your office either.
No, you've got
the contract says it can be within 50 miles of your office. So if you actually know there's a sub available in your district that would be willing to work that day, and your management saying no subs available, but that sub is available, talk with your local designated union rep. Say, hey, I tried. They didn't want to do this. I'm filing a grievance on it because such and such sub is available at this office and is willing to come here and run my route.
Well, I'll take it one step further, because if I wanted the time off and we didn't have any subs available, I would have to ask the supervisor which local offices has she called to see if any subs were available.
I was just going to say that I have put that as a contention in my statement multiple times, that they have not, the management did not reach out, because I hand the slip to them, they mark it denied and hand it right back to me. So I know they didn't even check to see if anyone was available.
Okay, I'm going to interject for a moment, and I want to say welcome back to Mike. How was your trip? How was Hawaii? Did you get the honeydew list done?
we have the honeydew list done for today. There's more to come tomorrow. As all vacations go, it was probably too short. The important thing is we got to spend some time with my son out there, which was the goal of the trip, and we had fun. And most importantly, I didn't carry mail for 8 days. So, and did not think about, well, I didn't think about the post. I did see some city carriers out on the road as I'm trying to enjoy my beach time. And that was, nope, not going to worry about it. They're city carriers. That's mail. I'm not worrying about that. I'm on vacation.
Now,
Oh,
Mike,
there-
just remember, no matter how long you take off, you actually need 1.5 times that.
Yes. Yes. Well, I wasn't, how do I want to say this? I looked at the schedule for just to see how my who they had scheduled on my route while I was gone. And the first 2 days of my vacation were the people scheduled were number one, Phantom Sub and an RTA who I know she can't figure stuff out. She just doesn't deliver it.
Are you going back to work Tuesday?
What's that?
I said, are you going back to work Tuesday?
Oh, I've already been back to work.
Oh, okay.
I came back. We flew overnight. We took an overnight flight on Tuesday. We landed Wednesday morning. Thursday, actually, I was back to work last Thursday.
Oh, okay.
And then, and I took about 20 minutes of 8127 time to clean up the random stuff I just found laying around my case, including 3 parcels. Well, one was in the case from the day before, and then 2 parcels were sitting on top of the case, just like showed the supervisor, and one had been sitting for about 10 days.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, the joys of playing cleanup, right?
Yeah. So Friday and my role as union, I actually got my K day on Friday, but I went in for about an hour to sit in on my first I&I, and
Nice.
that was, and then I worked yesterday. I'm off today and tomorrow, and we will be back at it on Tuesday.
Fun. Well, at least you got to clean up before the holiday.
I did, and then
would be miserable.
This weekend is the Kansas State Convention, so I will be off from Saturday until next Wednesday. We will go down Saturday for a board meeting, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is the state convention. We'll see how that goes. It should be interesting.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna kind of go to this one. Kind of a little all over the place, but what needs an extra scan and what each scan actually gives credit for, such as just to mailbox or also to door. Example, I'm reading people double scanning carrier pickups as prepaid acceptance and door miscellaneous. And some say certifieds needing door miscellaneous as well, whether 3849s give credit to the door, etc. Seems many offices do things differently. When it comes to doing the additional scans, trip to doors, door miscellaneous, whatnot, if you are going to the door more than one time, you're going to enter that in as extra, as extra trips to the door. When you're doing a certified, because it isn't accountable and it's already built in under the accountable credit to go to the door, obviously, you don't need a door miscellaneous or a certified.
No, it's just like taking a parcel to the door.
Yep.
Because if you scan it at the door when you ring the doorbell, knock on the door to attempt it, that's your scan.
Right.
And then you
I would say,
get additional credit if they're not home, and you have to leave a 3849. Scanning that 3849 is an additional credit. I think I'm correct on that.
Yeah.
I would say,
Yeah, and you're going to get credit to the door for anything that requires a signature, whether you actually have the person there to sign for it or you leave a notice. You're still getting the credit to the door, supposedly.
April 10th, our episode Carrier Discretion, aka Activity Scans, went through the whole sheet with what each of the scans were.
Yep.
And how they matter.
Right. I don't have the PDF saved to the 99-page document with what the time standards are, so for anything, because I think that was part of that question.
Most of your scans are going to be under the one scan. The ones that are two scans are your SPM scans that you get from them, and I can't remember the other ones. But there are specific ones that are two verification scans and single verification scans. You'll have to read up on that in the 99-page guide, but there's different credits for those ones. But your certifieds are going to be a single scan, and your pickup requests are 2-factor scans.
Yep.
You have to do. So if that gives you an idea.
Yeah, because you're scanning it and then it asks you yes or no, did you complete the pickup?
Yes.
And then if it's more than 5 packages,
You'll do the remaining under the prepaid acceptance.
there we go.
Yep.
And now you don't have to use a door miscellaneous for carrier pickups. If you have to make more than one trip to load everything under a carrier pickup, that actually falls under the trip to door.
Yes.
What if I'm walking to the door and I trip? Do I
Well,
get
then
2
you-
trips to the door?
That's a carrier
bet.
discretion.
Then you better make sure you're wearing a postal approved shoes for that, because that's the first thing
yeah.
they're going to look for.
Say, Bill, are those
Supposedly.
your Crocs? No, they're not my Crocs. You got to remember, folks, when you're going to the door, okay, you either have a package, you have a certified, you have hold mail. If you're taking, the hold mail up there, it's an unscannable parcel if it's more than 8 pieces. You're getting the credit for going to the door for anything that is accountable under the terms of a certified, a express mail, registered, or any type of parcel that has a barcode on there. You're getting that credit already when you go to the door. So there is no miscellaneous credit for other things than a second trip to the door. So don't try to cheat the system.
No, please don't. I've seen several reports of people getting with the now infamous benchmarks of, well, you had too many of these, and now you have to verify all your unscannable parcels before you leave to the route. And yeah, guys, let's just
If they want to do
jobs.
that, if they want you to show them every single parcel that's there, you want 8127 or 1314A time for that.
Mm-hmm. Especially unscannable parcels.
Uh-huh.
Now, there's confusion on unscannable parcels because of the fact that you get some of those big donations to the Native American or, American Veterans Association or, some kind of wildlife conservation group that don't fit in the case. That's the technicality. If it doesn't fit in the mail slot with the mail, that's an unscannable parcel. If you can't bend it to put it in there with ease, because your mail is supposed to slide in, you're not supposed to sit there and wiggle it in, folks. It's supposed to slide in. That's an unscannable parcel. And if anybody has any questions about that, then you bring it to their attention and say, look, I can't case this in a timely fashion for this to be considered a flat. This is not a letter, obviously, because it's 20 inches long and 14 inches high. It's not going to fit into my 5-shelf system.
You got a 5-shelf?
Yeah, I have a 5-shelf.
I've got 6.
Yeah, I got 6 too.
I got 6.
I got the 5 shelf with single slots on everything except for the ends, and I have a half wing too.
And can I
I
say
need a
thank
half
you
wing.
for not putting anything on the ends, because there is nothing more annoying, especially if it's a double address slot on an end.
Oh,
I can't do it.
I fought tooth and nail with AMS on that. Getting the double slots on the end, and
Uh-huh.
they said, well, the first one has to have your change of address cards in there. I said, okay, put it in there. And they put it in there. I whited it out, and it's just got the address for the first address in there. Whatever makes you happy, folks. There's tricks of the trade that you pick up over the years. So that's mine.
Yep, definitely. So this one, yeah, they had a screenshot of an article out of one of the national news magazines, but I don't have it back up there now. But it has to do with clarification on late arrivals and second trips. Their UPS normally drops off around 10 or 11 and gets scanned for the next day. The clerk mistakenly scanned them for the same day, so they were told they had to go back out because of the clerk's mistake. At the time, it was 2 minutes per mile plus load time. Clarification is explaining late arrivals are not the 3 minutes a mile we now get for second trip.
The answer, I have it pulled up.
Okay.
According to the union article, it says, no, it is not proper under the terms of the pre-arbitration settlement. The agreement covers second trips to deliver express, priority, and other preferential mail pieces that have arrived at the office after the carrier left for the street. It does not include returning to get parcels that the clerks just did not get sorted before you left. This agreement does not also does not apply to those instances when rural carriers may be instructed to return to the route to deliver late arriving trays or even entire runs of DPS letters or DPS flats. In these instances, the union position is that rural carriers should be compensated for actual time at the carrier's overtime rate, the same method used to calculate Christmas overtime rate. You should also receive additional EMA as appropriate if you drive your personal vehicle on the route. If you are required to return to the office and make a second trip to deliver parcels that were not sorted before you left, or take out late arriving DPS letters or flats, ask your supervisor to compensate you at the overtime rate. If they refuse, then talk to your local designated union representative.
But do the work.
Yes.
But follow a direct order, preferably in writing, round dated, and signed.
Always.
All right,
Sorry. Yeah. I advise everybody, if they don't put it in writing, then don't do it. If they're not willing to put their name on it in the fashion of a direct order, then they're hiding something. And people in my office basically say, well, Bill, what if we get in trouble? I said, don't worry, I got your back.
All right. There's a couple ones under this one. Also for clarification on what carriers over 55 are entitled to. Example, auxiliary help, when they can get help, or for maybe the heavy parcels. Do they have to go over their eval weekly? Can they get help on Mondays or day after holiday when they will be out longer than eval?
Well, Josh, you want to handle that? You're over 55.
Oh, shots fired. Shots fired.
I feel
Last I
it.
knew, Bill,
I
I
am
think you
not
were the
yet.
only one.
Look, I took the first shot at him. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Says the guy who used
I'm
to
in-
deliver on horse and buggy.
His first postmaster's last name was Franklin.
I gotta go find my waiters. Getting deep in here.
I used to stop at Betsy Ross's house for tea and crumpets.
So you're the one who told her to put the 13 stars on the flag.
What the hell? She had extra white, okay, in her knitting. What the hell? But the 55 rule is only if you want to have your route reduced.
Yes.
It doesn't. It has nothing to do with heavy Mondays or lifting parcels or anything else. I hate to say it, but it's just if you want to take it easier on your body and make yourself last a little longer. I mean, there are situations where people have to turn around and taken their routes from a K to an H because they can handle 6 days a week at 6.5 or 7 hours versus 5 days working 10 hours. So it has no bearing on the volume of the mail, the day of the week, or anything else like that. You're just getting old. That's all.
Yep.
Don't do it. It's a trap.
Yeah, that's really all that is. You can ask if you're over 55, you can, even if you're not an overburdened route, you can submit in to have your route if needed.
Like I said, you're getting old.
A couple years back, I called my. I was like off topic. A couple years back, I called my dad on his birthday, and we're talking. He says, "What are you, 85 now?" I said, "Okay." He says, "Well, they say you're as old as you feel." He says, "I feel like I'm 110, and you're 25 years younger than I am."
I've got one that came across on Instagram last week that I personally didn't get a chance to get back to. But I'm going to read this one now, and I'm going to let you guys chime in here. Working on dispute forms for our office. I will leave out the name of the office. Do you have any knowledge of how 34 additional round-trip miles being added to our route daily for remodeling construction would have affected our RECs for 8 months? We are temporarily placed in another building, so I'm curious if you think the additional mileage could have hurt our RECs, and we were also required to do our J time, end of shift duties, in our local office due to not having staff to work our throwback case in the other office, although we had to drive back to that unit every day.
Okay, their office is being renovated, so they have to work at another office.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end of the day, they have to return to their original office, which they can't work out of in the daytime, case up their raw stuff, and then go back to the office that they're operating out of.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
are they?
That would all be under return to DU?
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
I would say even the drive back to the original unit
Would be
under the end of shift duties at this point in time. That 34 miles, if round trip, if that's deadhead, yeah, that's on the sucky part of the drive speed matrix.
That's a double-edged sword. That's a double-edged sword there, because one, it hurts you because it's all deadhead time.
Yep.
But two, that's extra miles that are added into your route. So you're getting the extra time towards your evaluation during the length of time that you're working out of this other building, which you will then lose when you go back into your office and you'll go back to your regular. But, as James just said, it's going to be at the lowest time period, because it's at the, it's going to be calculated the fastest depending on how long how long you travel each stretch. So every time you get to a corner and turn or a stop sign, it stops and starts over.
Or at least it's supposed to, anyways.
Right. Yes, supposedly.
And this is the thing that's really pissed me off about RECs, okay? We were supposed to go live in September, and although the union knew in August it wasn't happening, they didn't bother telling us until after the convention. It's called political survival. But the biggest problem of it is that in the 6 months between September and February, March, they still didn't train everybody. Okay. They still didn't get all the necessary items taken care of and addressed. They didn't get all the training to the carriers addressed. My biggest problem is that none of the management in a lot of offices weren't qualified to actually do the MMS. Okay. There are offices out there now that still haven't been mapped. And yet you're trying to implement this program. Every day there's horror stories about, scanner malfunctions, parcels being left at the end of the day that you don't have, parcels that show up in your scanner and they're, 40 miles away in Delaware or Madison, Wisconsin. It doesn't matter. They're just not there, but they're showing up in your scanner as a failure. These are the types of things that, needed to be corrected. And in the 11 years since the inception of this idea, they have failed to perform on both sides of the coin, the union and the post office. And there's no way in hell that the union should have agreed to anything until everything was worked out. And don't tell me we have to go through this process to find out what the bugs are.
At the livelihood of 66% of the carriers affected.
Exactly.
Yep.
Some may be on the carriers, some may be on management. A lot of it is the system itself.
Yes.
A lot of it's based on
Absolutely.
the people who put in an input into what this becomes.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, we're sitting here and we can 2020 hindsight this all the way. But the real thing is what I really would love to do is sit down with the engineers and the program itself and see all the coding that went into it, because I want to see where everything's being put together. I want to see the calculations for every single slot on the 4241A, the 4241M. I want to see the data that goes into it. I literally want the 750 pages per route of data that comes out of this program. Because I guarantee you, for 144 slots, there's 750 data points for each route that I need to look at to see how it actually calculates this. And nobody has access to that. Not the union, not postal management, only the engineers and the people that were working closely to make this program are the ones that have access to that. And I want to see that.
And we should have never agreed. We should have never agreed until that was all visible to everybody.
A lot of that is because of the arbitrator that created this system.
It's just, there's no transparency. There's still no transparency. We don't know where some of these numbers are coming from, or how they're configured, how you're getting certain coverage factors. It's.
Think about when we were at Mid-States, Kristen, and that regional postal manager couldn't even put up rural numbers on the board. He could only put up city numbers because their systems don't handle rural mail. Although we get the same type of mail that city carriers do, the same volumes of mail, supposedly, as city carriers, they can't give us our numbers. They have to show us city carrier numbers. And the manager also even admitted that he didn't bother to train the district or local managers on Rex either. He was part of the problem because he knew Rex and he wasn't willing to pass that information down the chain. He's just as much culpable as anybody else in this whole system.
Here's another question. What is daily activities on the 4241A?
Well, I went to the bathroom once.
Just once, huh?
It was for 45 minutes.
Scrolling Facebook, were you?
No, I was watching Moana for the 183rd time,
Yeah.
Grandson loves that.
Aww.
I'm pulling up the cheat sheet right now. I remember it, but I don't remember it. Daily activities. Scanner setup activities, complete trip report form 4240, and end of shift office activities. So your end of shift time will be in there.
And
All the
your
time you're
safety
doing.
service. Safety service talks.
No, safety service talks have their own square.
No, but it's under daily activities. If you look at your office volume, the rural route evaluation sheet, which is the 4241M,
Mm-hmm.
they have it underneath daily activities.
Basically, it's your office time.
Yes.
Yes.
In the Cliff Notes version. Second question from the same person was, what's the current EMA rate? Current EMA rate is 91.5 cents per mile. Next adjustment will be first part of July.
Yeah.
Be released in about end of June, mid to late June. Okay. Was there any
I've
other
got
ones
one.
that we missed? You got one?
I've got one I found. How do we handle getting jury duty? It's one I saw on Facebook. I figured I'd throw it in there. So if somebody gets summoned for jury duty, how do you handle it, management, and what are you supposed to do?
I was gonna say you contact your clerk of the court and ask them to send a summons to you.
Oh.
No,
You have to be a full-time regular carrier to get jury duty pay, though.
correct.
Yeah.
And all
RCAs
you,
do not.
yeah. And all you have to do
RCAs
is,
only.
What's
RCAs
that?
only get the RCAs only get the day off for it. They don't get paid for it. Regular
Right.
carriers do get paid for it.
and when you get the jury duty summons, you give it to your supervisors. You go there for the day, and when the court selects you or doesn't select you, if they don't select you, you turn around and you get your check from the court and you give it to the post office, and the post office pays you for the full day for performing your jury duty service. If you're there for any more than one day, then any check you get from the court goes to the post office, and the post office pays you your full daily rate for every day you serve on jury duty.
And there is a DACA code for jury duty.
All right. I have another one that I have found that was sent to us on Thursday. I know you guys are busy with your own disputes and stuff, but I can't get a clear answer. Is there any way to know if when the clerks scan parcels under static during the week, if it still counts towards the route for office time? My number one question is, why are clerks scanning parcels under static during the week?
I have the same question. I have not heard anything in regards to a resolution to that. I know there was a step 4 that the union had put forward because anything that was scanned in as static or dynamic was not showing up in your numbers towards your route. You know, at Christmas time when they have the extra help come in to just run parcels, they would run them under the static or dynamic routes, so they could just send the person out and it would give them the turn by turn for the whole, regardless of what route that package came from. Like I said, I don't know if they've gotten that corrected, but I know there is a step 4 pending being heard on that.
Well, we also run into a problem when we're short of city carriers that, when they're splitting up the routes, the clerks will turn around and do a static run for the split routes. But we've come to an agreement that can't be done until all parcels are processed for rural and city carriers, so that there's no confusion and no convolution of the statics being put into the rural hampers at any time.
Yeah, number one, they shouldn't be scanning them in a static during the week. That's not good. I think, if I remember, they said something at Mid-States about how they were going to work on getting those packages at Christmas time put back into the route. What was going on with that, I do not know 100%. So that's all I can say on that. And yeah, I would, if you know for a fact that they're scanning them as static during the week, I would be getting a hold of your assigned union rep for sure. This has been a big hot topic I've seen coming around lately is
Kristen, I would say if possible on that, get a hold of your district representative.
yes.
Take it, because that's something
Up the ladder.
they may tell you, refer you back to your local rep, but I would definitely let the district rep know if you can get, if you have access to them, to contact them.
So I have seen many posts on lots of these social webs pertaining to all of this being an Article 5 violation. The prohibition of unilateral action. Article 5 says the employer will not take any actions affecting wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment as defined in Section 8D of the National Labor Relations Act, which violate the terms of this agreement or otherwise inconsistent with obligations under the law. Route evaluations do not fall under Article 5.
Unfortunately.
Article 5 would be a layoff. Article 5 would be creating a table, putting table 1 on a table 2 without telling anybody. That sort of stuff. It would, or cutting the hourly wages of RCAs without an agreement. That type of stuff would be what would fall under Article 5. Route evaluations do not. Ever have.
Deciding to cut our healthcare benefits would be in Article 5.
I would say, that being said, the union did file unfair labor charges. What exactly is said in that, I don't know. What grounds they had exactly with that, I can't speak for it. I wasn't there. I haven't seen any of that paperwork. So, but there is unfair labor charges that were filed against the post office by the union.
Also, another Article 5 would be if they took mail delivery from 6 to 5 days a week, and it wasn't something. Route evaluations do not fall under Article 5, plain and simple.
Evaluations themselves do not.
Yes, exactly.
Well, people would sit there and argue, well, hold on, they put this mini mail survey and it affected my wages, my hours, and conditions of my employment, but it all is falling within the terms of our agreement.
Yeah.
Since we have an agreement to the the REX program, and the mini mail survey is part of that, it is null and void in regards to affecting your wages and hours regarding the labor law, because we have an agreement in fact with the post office that this falls under.
And this latest contract does have the REX system listed as its evaluation system for our pay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It doesn't have any other way to do our evaluation besides the REX system.
Yep.
Unless, and everybody wants to take the hourly fight. Well, if you want to take it to being paid hourly, if they would switch it to hourly without it being negotiated, that would fall under Article 5.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, route evaluations going up, going down, do not. That's not a unilateral.
That's not a unilateral action.
No.
Because that happens that happened in the old count system anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also know that there is another part to that labor charge, and that is them not providing us training. That is one of the things that they're using in that labor charge. I've heard through the
Yes.
grapevine. Because they didn't properly train us on the rec system, the union's fighting for us to not only get paid to get training, but maybe even work on compensation for our evaluations for not being trained. So hopefully that goes through sooner than rather than later. And then just like the contract, we'll wait 8 months for them to actually pay it out.
Yeah. But I've seen another discussion that popped up about the LTM not matching numbers where they closed one box, but when they get the final review at the end, it says they're -5. Their LTM numbers lower than their edit sheet. Always buy 2 boxes and they only have curbside. Go in if it's some. I would double check as you go and update. Go through and make sure that all your active boxes say active and not inactive, because
Yep.
it does happen in the system that if it's one of those boxes that gets a low volume of mail and is not serviced often enough during the week, the system is automatically inactivating it. So
And this is
if you see,
not your edit book or anything like that. It is literally the computer saying, well, they're not getting mail other than these box holders, so we're going to inactivate it. I've got one of those on my route. Every month I have to go in and reactivate it because all they get are the box holders. But they want their box holders. So it's an active box.
yeah, that would be the big one where your numbers aren't matching, is the system is automatically inactivating a box when it should be active. If it's active on your end, but it's, yeah, I've seen that. I actually have one that I have to inactivate all the time because it still pops up as active, even though I have it inactive in my edit book and have for a while. It still will pop up as active, and I just kind of laugh because they don't even have a mailbox. But where it would be placed, if there was a mailbox that would go in, would actually be under a mailbox grouping. Not a mail stop because they're all separate posts, but a mailbox grouping. I think that's what kicks it back active in the system.
I want you to go back to where Bill's always fighting with management.
Go right ahead. It's all yours.
It makes me laugh because, every day, it's a battle. I mean, from people working off the clock. You come in, your DPS isn't up, and some carriers are over there getting their DPS. And I said, whoa, 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 go check with the supervisor, see if they have clerks available. If not, then they can get a sub to put it up on a 13, 14A, whatever. But, don't handle it until you get authorization. I said, because, you're crossing crafts and this mail's supposed to be put up for us. It's like the handoffs. Okay. We inadvertently know which route is getting a handoff. If I get a misthrow on my hamper, it's usually the route next to me or one a little across the way, and we're not getting credit for that. So, we turned around and said, okay, since we're not getting credit for this, we're going to turn around and have a common area, which we got time for, to put misthrown parcels. And then they come over and scream at you and say, it's right next to you. Yes, I know that, but that's not where I'm supposed to put it. If you're gonna fight with management, make sure you have the right footing to make your case, that you have a solid argument. People come in, we clock in on our scanners. We do and make the manual entry on the 4240. Then you get your keys and you go out and you check your truck. You don't start it up and just, okay, it starts up. Check your blinkers, check your wipers, check your horn. Once a week, get somebody to check your backup lights, your brake lights, and all, because you're paid to do that. Don't come at 10:30 and tell the supervisor your truck won't start, because then it's on you. And I can't help you with that fight. But when it comes to getting things fixed, okay, now we have an argument. Now we have, a situation where you can get another truck. And please, for God's sakes, don't sit there and say, I want the truck the sub has. The truck is assigned to the route, not the carrier.
Exactly.
End of statement. Period. There is no discussion. They either have a truck or they don't have a truck. That's on them. So when it comes to, confronting management, okay, make sure you know what you're confronting them about. Make sure that there are articles of disagreement per the national agreement that you can, show, or you can come to me and I'll show them and illustrate. We have people, if you want to go back to this, the MMS, the mini mail survey, and they want to question whether their management has been trained, just point out the UBBM in the DPS that nobody knew all the way up to district and national levels whether we should be getting counted. So how is somebody going to sit there and tell me a local person had any idea about that? Management at the local level, for my experience, okay, for the most part, are not there because of the fact that they're knowledgeable. They're there because they will do whatever it takes to keep their job so they don't have to do a route. Management, when they turn around and say, we have an open route, and they walk away, they expect our subs to split the route up, to figure out how to do it. That's a big no-no. Until you get directions from management on what to do and what has to be done and who's taking what, do not volunteer to do it on your own. I know it's an inconvenience, and it's taken a while for my office to come to this realization, but it is management's responsibility to dictate the terms of how to handle an open route. Management. Until you make them do their jobs, they're not going to do it. So every day when I go in, DPS isn't up, I walk over and say, you have clerks for the DPS? No. Then I walk away. I don't want to have a discussion beyond that. And then when a carrier goes put up, no, you're not going to do that. We had a guy go out for 3 months because he tripped on the webbing and broke his hip. Don't do anything you're not authorized to do. Don't volunteer for anything. Like our carrier discretion would say, get it in writing, get it round stamped, get it signed. The proof is in the pudding, folks. And we know our jobs better than they know theirs. And every day I say, we could work this post office day in and day out from here to eternity without management. They can't do it without us.
I agree 100% on that.
Yep. Well, the only thing I would change of what you just said is
Nobody asked you.
I asked
He asked himself.
the subs putting it out, the GPS out at management's orders. It's not the 1314, it's the 1234, i.e. the green card.
You're right. Or it's the 1234.
Yep.
Hey, Bill, this one's for you, Bill.
Oh.
I came across scrolling through the group here, just kind of going over stuff. I haven't been in there as much as I have in the past, just because of everything going on lately.
Are you slacking?
Well, all that insurance paperwork and stuff. Is there any scenario where the current NRLCA vice president does not get voted in as president?
No. Is there a current scenario that can happen? Yes, but it hasn't happened.
That's going to come down to how your delegation votes.
Yep.
And the people running.
And the people you voted to go to the delegation.
Yes.
The national convention.
The only way the vice president becomes president is if the president dies or resigns, and that is until there's a vote.
Well, this just says where because the current vice president is running for president, that we do know, does not get voted in as president. That would all depend on who else runs for president. Now, if he was to go uncontested, it would be unanimous.
Another hand-me-down position, yes.
Yes. If they are contested, then it will go to a vote, and it's got to be a two-thirds majority vote, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's secret
And
ballot.
secret ballot, and that would depend on who you voted for as delegates from your state to go to national and vote for anything that he's voting on. So that would be the scenario, would be you have the right delegates in there and the right people running, that they vote for those running against. That's the
And,
only scenario there is.
and with that in mind, with 25 years experience in this union, okay, I've never seen a situation where you just hand me down your position as much as this union does. And we have followed the same path for 25 years as far as policy, pay, and everything else in regards to how the national board operates. Folks, it's got to change. We've got to get more protection for the carriers, whether they're union or not, whether they're active members or not. For the people who are outspoken and the timid ones, we have to get more carrier protection out there. There are so many horror stories about people being threatened, disciplined, harangued, worked to death, that it breaks my heart to hear some of these things, because of the fact that in my office, I don't let that happen. And it's a shame everybody doesn't have a Bill May or a Kristen, to stand up for them.
You need to step up and learn your stuff. You need to learn your craft. You need to learn your job and learn your duties as a rural carrier. And not only protect yourself, but protect your fellow carriers. If you know something's not right, talk with your fellow carriers and be like, look, this should be changed. Get with your designated union rep. Work with them. Get them involved in your office. Get yourself within the contract confines, because you are the union. Whether you are dues paying or non-dues paying, you are the rural carrier union. It is your duty as a union member to protect your job and your fellow carriers' jobs, whether you like that person or not. Because
Exactly.
if they're allowing management to do it, management's going to say, well, so and so's doing it, why can't you?
It's funny because I compare the post office to the View and Jerry Springer mixed into one. Okay? but the thing
all I can picture is Bill walking into management's office, and I hear ding ding ding, Jerry.
Well, the postmaster does have a chair with my name on it. But
is it Waybo Johnson turning towards the corner?
Of course. But I've never seen such a situation where I felt like I was back in school, and you had the resident bully, and that's management. And if you don't stand up to the bully, they pick on everybody, especially the weak ones. You always pick on the weak ones. So we have to be the advocates for the victims, and then we have to educate the victims, explain to them they have rights, that they have a contractual agreement in there to prevent this type of harassment, this type of hostile work environment. They don't have to tolerate it, and we have to stand up to the bullies. And I'll tell you what, I enjoy it.
Y'all do. We all enjoy it.
Here we are on a holiday weekend, giving up our time to help you. Well, now it's time to help yourselves too.
Speaking of contractual rights, and back to the mid-states question, was it asked or was anything said about the status of the Arcan?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to bring that up. You know,
Sorry, I forgot
It is
that
the
was
thing
going to
that
be
should not. It's the thing that should not be named.
yes.
I think it went into the same file receptacle that the database that was supposed to be on the NRLCA website for everybody to view their route data went. So
Bullshit. Bullshit.
I don't think their server has enough capacity for that.
well. Well,
I
that's
mean,
probably
they're
true.
the proof
But
was the fact that the post office couldn't calculate the numbers for a week and a half,
Hmm.
and they have bigger servers than the NRLCA does.
Not only that, they couldn't calculate our raises either.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I brought that up.
All right. I
well,
actually have another question that fits right in on this.
Ooh.
okay.
I'm an RCA. Our office recently started doing Amazon Sundays.
I'm
I have been
sorry.
wondering about this. So they use two of us every Sunday, and then a third has to be on the bubble, which means you have to get up and sit and watch the phone to see if you will be needed. So you can't make any plans for the day, but you may end up not working or making a dime either. One of our city carriers mentioned he thought we should have to be paid show up time or something like that. Not whining, it is what it is. If it's part of the job, fine. Just wondering if he's right since all of this is new in our office.
All right, Amazon Sundays. If you're not on the schedule and they don't call you on Saturday saying we need you tomorrow for Amazon, you're not sitting by the phone. If they are requiring you to sit by that phone, then you need to contact your union rep.
You
And
should
you
be
need to
paid.
get paid for a minimum of 2 hours to be on call.
All right.
If they say you're scheduled to possibly come in, but just wait for us to call you, no. If you're scheduled, you go in. They'll have to pay you 2 hours for you being scheduled to go in.
Now, in my office, when a sub is off on a Monday to Saturday, they've asked questions about that, and there is no on-call status. Okay.
No.
So if they don't call you 15 minutes before the start of the shift or 15 minutes after the start of the shift, you go enjoy your day. When it comes to Amazon Sunday, if you're not on the schedule, you're not on the schedule.
Yep.
And if they call you, you don't have to pick up the phone. That's up to you. It's carrier discretion.
And per the postal manuals, management is supposed to be in the office prior to carrier arrival to be able to tell who's going to be there and who's not. Be able to log in and check light blue and make sure that people didn't call off through the 800 number, things like that, and be able to call people
Stop
in.
it.
That's what they're supposed
That's in
to
the
do.
M38, yes.
It's
That's funny.
supposedly that's what they're supposed to do. But we all know management doesn't follow that either. So it's carrier discretion. It's carrier discretion if you're not working.
Job description states that you should be available upon short notice. Does not say that you are on call until such and such time or wait by your phone. So if you're not scheduled, and like I said, they don't contact, if they're going to force you to tell you that you need to wait by your phone, then you need to be compensated for that.
Imagine this.
I'll give a non-postal example here of another union that has basically an on-call policy for their members, and that's the railroad. One of the railroads has an on-call policy that we will call you and you have 2 hours to report. So even if you're doing something, you have 2 hours to show up at the facility. So take from that what you will, but that's short notice.
Yeah, but we're not the post office.
Being called in is unfortunately part of the RCA job is being called in. But sometimes life happens And unfortunately, your life should come first before the post office, because the post office was there before you joined in, and the post office will be there after you leave.
Or when you die.
Or well, that's part of leaving. But when you die, your manager is going to show up at your funeral and ask you why you're not at work.
Yeah, and make sure you fill out a leave slip too.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure you fill out
why
your
you left before
3971.
ended.
I think I'm gonna do that. When I pass away, I'm gonna have a leave slip on my chest saying, "Left town, not coming back."
And remember, this show is for entertainment purposes only.
Mhm.
Well, I know when shortly after I started, there was another RCA. He was off one particular day morning, and he got up early at starting at 6 o'clock, all the way up to 8:30. Like every half hour, called to see if they needed him, and they kept telling him no, 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 no. So at 8:45, he decided to go and do what he wanted to do for the day. At 10:30, when the post office supervisor tried calling him to have him come in, and he didn't answer, or he told her no at that point because he was already in the middle of something. When they tried to discipline him for it, he's like, "I called you at 6, 6:30, 7, 7:30, 8, and 8:30. Why didn't you tell me to come in at any of those 6 times I called to see if you needed help?" And was able to get out of it, but they expected him on that short notice to come in, and if he did not answer his phone, actually I think he didn't answer his phone, and they tried to ask him why he didn't answer his phone, that he was supposed to come in when they called him, but because he didn't answer, they couldn't say he declined work.
I love ones like that. They're slam dunks. Oh my God.
All right, guys, you ready to wind it down for this evening?
Okay.
Okay. So, well, I was going to say none of us have to go to work tomorrow, but I actually do have to go to work tomorrow. I have to go case flats for 2 hours. So, yeah, that's what I have to do tomorrow. So,
Well, traffic won't be bad.
yeah, I can walk to work. It's all good.
I
Parade
get
starts at the time we get out. So, yeah.
I get up early tomorrow and go down and clean the memorial grounds down there in Westtown. So
Nice.
part of my service.
Oh, yeah, we have our Memorial Day parade starts at the time we get out from doing our thing. And of course, the parade route runs right in front of the post office. So I think I just might walk tomorrow so I don't have to worry about traffic at all.
Well, you get done, you step outside and watch the parade, and then go home.
Yeah, I can watch it as I walk home.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's only, 2/10, maybe 3/10 of a mile. So it's all good. All right, Mike, any last tidbits from you tonight?
Just say that, just remember the reason for why you have the day off tomorrow if you're not working. It's a somber holiday. It's not a holiday that you wish somebody a happy Memorial Day. It's supposed to be a solemn holiday. And just remember that, in the words of General Patton, that he said it was foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died in combat, but rather we should thank God that such men lived. And it's those people who made that sacrifice that provide us our freedoms today. So think about that tomorrow. Have a safe week, everyone.
Thank you, Mike. Josh?
I would say, I don't know if I can top that, but
It's not a competition.
I know. Yeah, just, keep in mind, however you decide to celebrate Memorial Day, what it's, the intent of the holiday, is to remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for the freedoms that we do have. Not looking forward to Tuesday. Try not to get overwhelmed. If you do, take a step back, take a deep breath, and step back in there. And have a good week, everyone.
James?
As everyone said, we're remembering those who chose to give the ultimate sacrifice, were brave enough to give the ultimate sacrifice, and were willing to give the ultimate sacrifice. No matter what conflict, whether the community supported it at the time or not, they gave their lives for this country so that we may enjoy the simple things like this podcast. And it is to those that we need to give the greatest respect. Those that gave the ultimate sacrifice.
Absolutely.
On that note, I wish everybody a good week at work. If you have any problems or issues you need to talk with somebody about, especially if issues arise like we talked about in the last podcast, reach out, fellow coworkers, your family, or any of the other resources available. And just have a wonderful week, everybody. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bill, dear, your last final commentary for this evening.
Well, you know how I was going to end it, but after all those,
yeah, we can.
I'll save that for next 2 weeks from now.
That's right.
I'll be on a cruise ship next Sunday. So sorry. I just am amazed at the fact that so many people we have never known, ever met, ever heard about, men and women, sacrifice so much for people they've never known, never met, never will meet, people in the future. And they've guaranteed us the rights and the freedoms that we enjoy every day. Even the ones that they wouldn't agree with. It didn't matter. And they paid the price for us to have these rights and freedoms. So use them judiciously, not viciously, not for your own self-interest, but for the common good of all men and women. Everybody remember the sacrifice and act accordingly. With that, everybody be safe. Tuesday's going to be heavy. Just remember, you're the most important delivery of the day. Get home to your loved ones, because people have laid their lives down so that you can have the freedoms that you enjoy, the job that you have, and the family to go home to, and the family they'll never see again. With that, God bless you all.
Thank you, guys. I couldn't have said any of that better myself. And on that note, Bill will not be joining us next weekend. You'll be missed, but please enjoy your cruise.
Thank you.
Send us lots of pictures.
Well,
no,
decent ones.
The decent ones, yeah.
I don't need to see the picture of Bill in his thong.
Yeah. My God,
Oh my
no.
God! Yes, I forgot that. Everybody, I am the consummate asshole. I'm sorry. I went into a local store here called Boscov's, which is a medium priced department store. A lot of nice stuff and everything. First thing I do is I walk in, I find a male salesperson, and I said, "Excuse me." I says, "Where are your thongs?" And he goes, "Oh, they're over in the shoe section." I said, "No, thongs." By the time I turned around, my wife was already 30 feet away. and this guy was giving me a look like, get the hell away from me.
Need to get that Speedo for the pool on the cruise ship.
Oh, baby. You know, it's so skin tight, you can see my cellulite.
All right, and for the comic relief. On that note, everybody stay safe this week, and we'll be back minus Bill next weekend.
Supposedly.
No more fan mail.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.